Hello everyone, and welcome back to SudoTech. So I'm going to be showing you how to load film into this type of camera. Now this is a Rolleiflex, and because of the rarity of these cameras nowadays, I'm kind of assuming that this is not going to be a very popular video, but I find it interesting, so whatever. Now a Rolleiflex is a old type of medium format film camera, and it uses the TLR system, which is different from the SLR system, which we use in DSLRs today, hence DSLR, digital SLR, and mirrorless cameras like the one that you're watching this through, like my G7. It has two separate lenses, which if I take off the hood, you can see, and one of them is the taking lens, which is this one, and that's the one that exposes the film, whereas this one is the viewfinder one. So if I were to pop this up, I could look down through it, and you would see through that one. But even so, it's just, an older technology. The main draw of this is that this shoots medium format film, which is a larger style film as opposed to 35mm film that's actually 120 millimeters. And in terms of focal range, you get a fairly normal focal length, similar to your human eye. It's not anything crazy like that, but it's projecting that on a much larger area of film, which leads to a higher quality image. Now you might have heard how film doesn't have a resolution, and in a sense that's true, because unlike a digital camera like this, it doesn't have a grid of pixels that are creating the image. For example, this one's shooting in 4K right now, so the amount of pixels you're seeing, if your screen supports it, would be 2160 by 3840. Now, film doesn't have that, yes, but there's still quality in film, and the main thing from that comes from grain. And film grain is just the little amounts of chemicals, which are silver halides in most types of film, that create the image. Similar to pixels, but just a slightly different technology. So if we're going to spread the image out over a greater area, it's going to hit a greater number of those pixels. Because of this, we get cleaner looking images with more detail and less grain, which I'm a very big fan of. So anyway, let's get to loading this. I got this box of lomography film, just some basic stuff. ISO 100, it'll be called 120mm film if you're going to go out and buy some. It's black and white, but you can get color versions as well. You should look at the different ways to develop them because it does vary from film to film. There are some databases online to see what the developing times should be and what type of chemicals you should use. When you open it up, you'll get this, which is just a standard roll of 120mm film. They take 12 different shots, so 12 frames on each roll of film, and that's pretty standard. There are 24 shot variants, but this particular camera doesn't support those, so that's just the way it is. And they'll come in a kind of container like this, which you can kind of see, which I already ripped open, which will be light proof, and you want to hold on to this until you're done taking film so that when you take it out, you can put it back in there just kind of as a safeguard. Let's go ahead and load it. Now, before we actually put the film into the camera, it's important to understand how this film works, because it's different than 35mm film. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on this. And it's a standard roll without any kind of film canister like you would see in a 35mm film for a 35mm camera, like a rangefinder, DSLR, something standard like this. If we look at this, we can't really see them because of the plastic, but there are lots of different rolls of film and paper in here, of course. And if you were to go from the outside in radially around the center, so around kind of a central area here, you would get some rolls that have film on them that can be exposed by light and all that good stuff. That's obviously what you're going to be taking photos of. But on the very inside and the very outside, there are a couple of rolls of just blank paper, which are just black. And the purpose of those is to seal the light in for the most part, and that's just kind of acts as the canister to protect the film from being exposed when it's not in the camera and when it's not being exposed intentionally. And this works well for the most part, but it's important just to keep that in mind because you are going to want to be somewhat careful with these rolls of film and not load them in direct sunlight. I've got this right by a window here below a lamp. That should be just fine, but generally most guides will recommend you not to load them when you're, facing the sun or something like that. Just turn your back to it, something easy like that. But let's get to loading it. So first we need to open up the camera, And this is most easily done if you're standing up with the camera strap on, but I'm going to keep it down here just to show you. On the very bottom, there's this little arrow, and we can just move this latch over. This will push this out. We can fold this up, and it'll allow us to open up the camera, which of course doesn't have film in it. Now just a quick trick right here is that there's actually a closer lever that we can push up, and that'll allow us just to take this entire hinge off, which means that it won't get away and won't slam down on our fingers or anything like that. Now that we're here, you can really see what I was talking about a little bit earlier, in that there is the taking area, and then up here behind there actually would be the viewing area for taking images. This is not actually where we're going to put the film. This is where the film is going to be loaded to over the course of winding it and taking photos. Down here is where we're going to put the new film, but as you might notice, there's already a reel there. So we're just going to take this out, although you definitely want to hold on to this. This is the reel from the previous roll of film that I took with this camera, and it's just an empty reel now, but we're going to need it, and it's going to become what is called the take-up spool for this existing roll. So let's just put it up here in this little area, and you can kind of pull these things out to help get it in, and you're going to want to line it up with the grooves on either side. This is going to be spinning, so it's keyed so that this lever can actually spin it instead of just spin freely. Now that we've got that, we can open up our film. This will have a little cover on it, but that's easily gotten rid of. Just keep in mind that once you have the cover on, you want to kind of keep a finger on this opening so that it doesn't open. There. We can't actually open it, but you want to prevent it from opening a lot and exposing your film. So now that we've got that, it's really as simple as putting it in here and bringing it through to the other spool. Again, you're going to want to get the keyed end in first, pull this out to help you guide it in, and then bring it down, make sure it can spin freely. And then you can feed it through this thing right here. Now, this little area is actually to measure the film so that the film advance can work properly, and as you roll film, the diameter of the reel will change as you lose some of the paper off of it. And this thing will ensure that as you roll the film, it adjusts the amount that you spin the film advance so that it's a constant kind of amount that you get even frames. Not all cameras have that, but if they do, they'll have something like this to measure it. And that's what a couple of these reels are for. Now we can just continue pulling it out until we get up to this reel up here. And we can advance it forward a little bit until this is a little bit easier to access. To hit the shutter real quick. There we go. Now we can advance it until about there. We want to get it there pretty far, and then we're just going to start advancing the film while holding it. During this process, it'll slip a little bit, but we want to get it to a point where it can be advanced just normally and there's no slippage. You're going to keep on doing this until it stops you, which is about right there. Good timing. And then we're going to put the case back together. So to do that, we're just going to put this side in first, bring that down. Should just lock automatically. Bring this in, clip it, and lock it back in. Perfect. So now we're back to being light, tight, and ready to go. Now, as you can see here it's 0. We can leave it at this, but I'm going to take some pictures immediately so I can go ahead and cock the shutter and get it ready for 1. You're going to turn it back, then reel it 1. I'm going to have to take a photo to get it to work. There we go. And then we can just wind the film continuously until it clicks over to 1. It'll take a little bit longer the first time, but see, it'll lock in place. That's how you know that it's done. Don't just continue winding until it locks. If you loaded it properly, it'll lock at the right point. Then we can bring it back until it stops again, which will always be exactly opposite this hole down here, and then close it. Now we're ready to take a photo, so I'm going to lock the shutter just to make sure I don't accidentally do it, and then we're good to go. So now that we've got film successfully loaded, I'm actually going to go out and take some pictures, and I'd suggest that you do the same thing. If you just pause the video, YouTube should save your progress somewhere around here. Otherwise, I'll leave a timestamp to this point, and I'll come right back to it when I'm done taking photos. Now, I just went down to the river and took 12 photos. Probably not going to be anything special, but I guess we'll find out. And so now we're going to unload the film. So here, this is what you've probably been spinning to advance the film, and we're just going to advance it past the 12th frame, and then continue going, once you've taken all your pictures, and just keep on going until the resistance pretty much comes off. Now, right now I'm feeling quite a bit of resistance here, and you want to go past that point, because with this particular film, there's a tape similar to this thing that we took off that's on the inside of the roll of film to reseal it, but with this particular film, it often gets stuck in the camera, so it'll just kind of get stuck, and then you have to get it off. So now it's really loose, and I can just do it freely. You can also sometimes hear what that, well, not really with this one. Occasionally you hear the paper flap kind of like coming around and then hitting the thing, and then like going like that, kind of like what my finger's doing. In this case, I'm not feeling it, but after a couple of rolls, if you're not really feeling any resistance, you should be just fine. The point of this is just to make sure that it's all the way on the end of the film instead of partially on where the film still is in the reel, because of course we don't want to expose it. So now we can just twist it back into place, close it up, and then flip off this and open the bottom. Now at this point, if you see film, that's a problem, because you don't want your film to be exposed. But luckily mine got rolled up correctly, and it should. It's really not rocket science or anything like that. And actually, let's get some better light here. There we go. So now as you can see, the film has gone from the bottom down here up to this top section, and we can actually just pop this out and pull it out. We've got our film. Here we go. So this is what I was talking about with the little roll on this back sheet. The little kind of sticker actually got stuck, but you can pull that off and just reuse it. So this, we're going to put it down. Really simple. So it should have been stuck here, but every roll that I've used in this little pack from Lithography has come undone like that. It's not a big deal or anything, just know that when you hit that point, you will feel a little bit of resistance. And then there's just a basic kind of tab here. It's just a sticker that you can take off. There we go. So then you just take that off. It just broke, but there. Perfect. Now it says exposed and this is sealed tight, so you don't have to worry about holding your finger on it. So there you go. There is your film. Now you can go ahead and develop it, roll onto a reel. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but probably a video for a while because I don't currently have the equipment right at my house. But I will be developing this, see how the pictures turn out. So I hope you the best of luck with your pictures, and if you have any questions, of course, leave them down in the comment section below. Anyway, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye.